This is Ananya, who's planning on studying international business at Seattle University. And so, Ananya, uh, could you run us through the course of international business in Seattle?
Yeah, for sure. So when you study business management, you know that there's a few different sectors or areas such as finance, marketing, operations, like the CEO roles like that. And international business kind of teaches you all of that, but on a more global scale. Especially when you study it in IB, you get a better sense of everything around you. You get a basic sense and you get the basic, let's say, backbone of everything, where you learn about everything in a small sense, and that helps you get your basic knowledge. From there, you can build on. International business specifically helps you learn and kind of build yourself in a way where you can create a business. And it's kind of like an entrepreneurship course, but not specifically towards entrepreneurship. It helps you kind of specialize, and you could also minor in other things such as finance or human resources, things like that. So international business mostly talks about on a global scale how a person can start a business, build themselves up, and how and what it takes to run a successful business, I guess.
Great. And so, could you tell us how you applied to different colleges? What was the research you did and how you prepared?
For sure. So, firstly, I think when anyone is researching about colleges, you first, before you decide your major or anything, because it does take a lot of time deciding what you want to learn about in the future, start off with the countries that you want to go to. Research on countries, places you want to visit, places that you loved staying in. That's where you can go off of. After that, you can start researching your major and saying, I like business. This economics class is really nice. And that's what I did. I knew I wanted to study in the US for a while, but I knew I had to keep my options open. So I also started applying to Singapore and a few other places. But I specifically started looking into things that it's not only my decision, it's also my parents' decision about where I go to. They can support me and do as much as they can, but it also comes with some restrictions such as finance, the place I have to be in, things like that. So a lot of the research I did was based off of financial aid, scholarships, and maybe cities that have really good colleges that can be near my family, because I was a bit scared to go off on my own. But I think the main thing that I like doing is I use College Board a lot. And I believe Sean also gave me a website, US Weekly, I think. It was a really good website because it gave you a rundown of everything from finance to the majors, the percentages of acceptance rate, the graduation rate. It also gave things like exactly a breakdown of the courses you wanted to study. And I think that's really, really helpful because you can also, like, suddenly when you're applying to colleges, you might decide that you want to apply to business in one college and then liberal arts in another. And that's completely fine because it's good to keep your options open like that. So the way I specifically did it is I knew I wanted to study business for the past couple of years. So I stayed with that. And within the US, I started looking around places that my seniors went to, places that my parents and brother told me about, because even they were interested in business. So from there, I started narrowing my searches down to things that I liked, cities that I liked, schools. I looked through their websites, and obviously their websites will boost them. So another interesting way, this might sound very weird, but you can look on Reddit for really interesting reviews, because Reddit is a place where people express their opinions full on honestly, and you can see what kind of colleges, especially private colleges that aren't as well known. I applied to a school in Boston. I won't say which one, but I was really interested in it. It was honestly one of my top choices. But once I looked through Reddit and saw that the school was kind of running a financial scam to certain people, they had a lot of problems with racism and discrimination, I immediately eliminated that from my list because of what the people were saying. And it's a really good idea to get in contact with alumni and try and open your mind and open your open your brain to see all angles, not only from alumni, from even your college counselor, and people who can also give you a negative opinion can also help you decide. And it's good to make a pros and cons list.
All right. And so, what do you feel were the advantages studying in an IB school like KIS, and how did it help you in your college application and such?
Ivy, I personally think is a pretty decently competitive course, but it benefits you in such an indirect but amazing way. Teaches you so many different values such as time management. It also teaches you a lot of social skills, how to balance out working alone and with a group, even like taking your own weight, things like that. And specifically a course such as IB, it has to be taught in a very, very high maintained manner to fully understand and grasp the entire lessons, not only like physical textbook lessons from subjects, but also lessons that you learn throughout life. Like anything of the IB profiles, like risk taking, things like that. So I think IB schools in personality development sense help so much. I'm so glad I went to an IB school in the past few years, especially growing up in America. You have such a basic standard education system. And once you come to India, it's so vast with so many different types of education. And IB, I really loved it. And it really pushed me to my limits and taught me how to be the person I am. Another thing is, depending on the major that you take and depending on which subjects you take as at a higher level, this can also take you out of a lot of courses, and you can skip a lot of basic classes for your freshman year in college. This is what I learned, and my brother also did this. If you take an IB course, and especially if it's an HL, you're starting to take basic college courses right there. And colleges sometimes can look at your manuscript and say, oh, they took an HL course, so we can take, so they can not take this mandatory class that's an introduction class type, because IB has such a vast and different curriculum, and it's so worldwide and known that it can be exempted from a lot of things. And I think being an IB student as well, maybe in certain countries it is necessary to have an IB diploma. I think UK, a lot of schools require it, but specifically for the US, it doesn't require it, but it makes you stand out because IB, like I said, is very competitive and can be tough. Knowing that you got an IB diploma and depending on whatever score you got, it's really, really highly, like you're a bit more highly understood and you are seen as a different person. Especially in amazing schools like Cody, you have such an international exposure. And I think IB specifically, it doesn't teach any subjects from a specific country sense, like world history. In America, they teach it from an American point of view. In India, they'll teach it from an Indian point of view, talking about wars and things like that. But IB, it says it in such a global way. Of course, there will be a little bit of partiality or a little bit of imbalance, but I think IB tries to make it such a global system and global communication that it really helps you learn.
Great. And so, thank you for your insight on how IB really develops the student. And so, thank you so much, Ananya, and good luck.
Thank you so much.